This question is from 116, it's number 6. So we need to find the domain and range of this function. So we're going to take a look at it graphically because that's often a nice way to get a sense for what the domain and range are. So I've typed the function over here in Desmos. And I'm going to scroll out. This is just the default window here. Now for the domain is a sense of what input values, what x values are allowed into the function. And so I can see that this graph is stretching wide, both left and right, and there are no gaps or jumps where there are x values that are excluded. So that leads me to the conclusion that I can plug in any number for x into the function. And that should be true because for the absolute value function, you can take the absolute value of any number, positive numbers, negative numbers, fraction numbers, decimal numbers, any number you can take the absolute value of. So my domain is going to be all real numbers. So in an interval, I would type that as the interval that goes from negative infinity. You click on the infinity key, or you can type /inf. So comma positive infinity, so /inf or infinity key, and then that would be the domain. All real numbers. So from the smallest possible negative x value to the largest possible largest x value. Then for the range. Okay, so back over to the picture. Instead of looking left and right for domain values, we're going to look up and down for range values. So I want to know if there's a lowest possible and a highest possible. And in terms of lowest, there certainly is a lowest possible because the y values don't go below 0. They don't drop into negative y values. They do go up, and they go up forever. They're going to go infinitely large, but they do not go into the negatives. They do not go below 0. So 0 itself is the lowest possible y value or output value, which should make sense because the absolute value function returns only positives. So I'm going to go from 0 upward, 0 to infinity for our range. I do include 0 with a bracket because I did achieve it at that point, 10, 0. I hit 0. And then, oops, wrong slash there. If I wanted to go, I was going to type it back to \infinity. Or you can hit the key instead of typing it. And then parentheses, you got yourself a range. Sometimes we talk about domain and range in terms of an interval. Sometimes we talk about it in terms of an inequality. This one had asked us to write it in interval notation. If you were writing instead in an inequality, we can't really do all real numbers in inequality. You could write it in words, all real numbers, or in an interval. But you could, instead of an interval, choose to use an inequality for the range. The inequality for this one would have just looked like y is greater or equal to 0, and you can see that that shades all the possibilities. That would be the inequality notation for the interval that went from 0 to infinity. And that would be how I entered it when I typed it over onto MATLAB. I used the \infinity to get the infinity key to show up, or you could have clicked the button that was down here on the bottom. Hope it helps.